Ladies and gentlemen, there's a moment in life when everything feels like it's falling apart. The plans you were sure of start to crumble. People you thought would always be there begin to disappear. The road ahead, once so clear, now looks like a foggy trail winding into nowhere. You start to wonder if you're doing something wrong. But I want you to hear this loud and clear. When life shakes the hardest, it's often because God is about to place something massive in your hands. The world doesn't warn you with confetti and celebration. No, it tests you with silence. It prepares you with disruption. Before every major turning point in history, there was chaos. Before David took the throne, he was chased. Before Joseph wore the robe of power, he sat in a prison cell. Before greatness steps in, pressure steps up. You may find yourself isolated. People stop calling. Invitations stop coming. The crowd thins out. That's not rejection, that's refinement. Because when God is getting ready to elevate you, He pulls you away from the noise. He whispers in solitude what can't be heard in a crowd. He breaks you so He can build something stronger. You'll feel it before it happens. A stirring in your spirit, a voice that says, "This isn't it." A discontent that won't let you settle. That's not frustration, that's a sign. That's the signal that something bigger is on the horizon. The small is no longer enough, because your spirit has already tasted what's coming. And then come the delays, the rejections, the closed doors. But remember this, resistance is not a stop sign, it's a confirmation. It's the universe checking to see if you're ready. You're not being denied, you're being defined. It's in the delay that you learn persistence. It's in the storm that you find your voice. And that voice, it's what will carry you into the next level. Right before the biggest blessings, your vision sharpens. You see things clearer, you realize what matters, what doesn't. You begin to move differently, talk differently, believe differently. That clarity isn't a coincidence. It's calibration. You're being tuned for impact. So if you're in the middle of a mess, don't lose hope. If you feel alone, don't shrink back. If the pressure's on, don't tap out. You are not breaking down. You are being positioned. Because when God is about to give you something big, the signs will show up. And if you've got the courage to endure, to believe, and to rise, you'll find that the struggle wasn't in vain. It was the runway for your elevation. So breathe in, stand tall, and keep walking. Something big is coming, and you are ready. There is something profoundly mysterious about the moments that come right before a divine breakthrough. It doesn't come with trumpet sounds or clear instructions. In fact, it often begins with disruption. Your life, once predictable, begins to shake. Things that were stable suddenly become uncertain. Plans fall apart. Conversations feel different. Relationships you depended on may begin to shift or dissolve altogether. Everything feels unsettled. And in that moment, it's easy to assume you've taken a wrong turn. You start questioning yourself. Why is this happening now? What did I do wrong? But what if the disruption isn't a punishment? What if it's preparation? When God is about to give you something big, something that will change the trajectory of your life, He often allows disruption to clean the slate. He shakes the foundation, not to destroy you, but to make room for something greater. Because the next level of your life can't be built on the same structure as the last. Old patterns have to be broken, weak foundations have to be exposed. And the only way to do that is through divine disruption. Think about it. Before a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, its world has to collapse. The cocoon is dark, confining, and lonely. The creature inside is being completely transformed. It's not comfortable, it's necessary. That process of breaking down is what makes the wings possible. Likewise, when you begin to feel like things are spinning out of control, don't panic. You are not being buried, you're being planted. Unusual disruptions are not random. They are strategic. They come to wake you up, to jolt you out of routines that no longer serve your future. Sometimes we get too comfortable in almost happy, almost fulfilled, almost walking in purpose. And so God allows a storm to push us out of almost and into alignment. You might see sudden challenges at work, financial turbulence, unexpected health issues, or emotional unrest. These are not always signs of destruction. They can be signs that your spirit is outgrowing your current situation. You were never meant to stay there forever. The disruption is the alarm clock for destiny. It's heaven's way of saying, you're too big for this level now. And here's the key: how you respond in the disruption determines what comes next. Will you fold under the pressure or will you lean in? Will you retreat or will you rise? Those who receive something big don't run from the shaking. They grow through it. They understand that divine disruption is not a curse. It's a calling. So when things start to unravel, don't immediately reach for panic. Reach for perspective. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What do I need to release? What is being stripped away so something better can be born? This is the sacred space between the old and the new. The shaking is not the end of your story. It's the sign that a new chapter is about to begin. And the bigger the blessing, the louder the storm before. Remember this: unusual disruption is not the evidence that God has left you. It is the evidence that He's near and that He's doing something far greater than you could imagine. There is a sacred pattern that repeats itself in the lives of those who are called to something greater. Before elevation comes isolation. It doesn't matter how talented, connected, or capable you are. If you're meant to rise, you will almost always pass through a season of loneliness. And not the kind of loneliness that comes from being alone in a room, but the deep spiritual loneliness of being set apart. This isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. When God is about to do something big in your life, He often pulls you away from people, places, and environments that no longer match your future. Conversations begin to feel hollow. The circle that once felt comforting starts to feel suffocating. You don't laugh at the same joke, you don't think the same thoughts. Your heart is shifting and others may not understand it. Suddenly you're not invited the way you used to be, you're overlooked, the phone rings less, and in that stillness it's tempting to believe something is wrong with you. Why don't they see me anymore? Why do I feel so disconnected from everything and everyone? But here's the truth: elevation requires separation. You cannot take everyone with you into your next chapter. Some people are part of your history, not your destiny. And when you're called to rise, clinging to old attachments can weigh you down. So isolation comes not to punish your heart, but to purify it, to make space, to remove the noise so you can hear clearly. In that quiet space, something powerful happens. You begin to hear your own voice again, not the opinions of the crowd, not the expectations of others, but the deep, authentic calling of your soul. That's where vision is born. That's where you stop performing and start becoming. Think of the greats. Moses was called to the mountaintop alone. Jesus went to the wilderness alone. David was anointed king but had to spend years in caves and fields alone. Why? Because greatness can't be microwaved. It must be marinated in solitude. It must be forged in the fire of being misunderstood, underestimated, and even forgotten. Isolation teaches you what applause never can. It shows you who you are when no one is watching. It sharpens your discipline, strengthens your prayer life, deepens your trust. Because when the crowd is gone, the only voice left is God. And when you finally learn to follow that voice without needing approval, likes, or validation, you become unshakable. So if you're in a season where it feels like no one sees you, good. You're exactly where you need to be. That silence is not a void. It's a cocoon. Something is growing inside of you. Something heavy, something holy. And when the time is right, you will emerge with wings. But for now, let the quiet do its work. Stop resisting the isolation. Embrace it. Let it refine your thoughts, recalibrate your direction, and strip away the things that were never meant to follow you into your purpose. Remember, you're not being hidden, you're being held, not overlooked, but overshadowed for protection. And when the time comes, when the foundation is ready, when the soul is mature, God will bring you out of the shadows and into the spotlight, not to entertain the crowd, but to fulfill the calling. Elevation is coming, but first, the isolation. Before something great enters your life, before God delivers a blessing that alters your direction, there is often no external sign, not at first. No spotlight, no announcement. Instead, it begins deep within you, a shift, a stirring, a quiet restlessness that interrupts your comfort, not in a loud way, but in a persistent one. It feels like your spirit is whispering, this is not it. There's more. This inner shift is sacred. It's the sign that something unseen is already underway. You haven't touched it yet, but your soul has. Your spirit senses what your eyes cannot see. You feel pulled, even if you don't know where. You feel uncomfortable, even though nothing has visibly changed. You can't explain it to people around you because it's not about logic, it's spiritual. This shift often begins with dissatisfaction, not because you're ungrateful, not because life is terrible. In fact, sometimes it begins when everything seems to be going fine. The job is stable, the routine is familiar, the relationships are steady, and yet something inside you starts whispering, "I can't stay here. I'm meant for more." That whisper won't go away. It grows, and it's not ego, it's alignment. God often prepares us from the inside out. Before He moves things around us, He moves something within us. He breaks our attachment to comfort. He loosens our grip on old mindsets. He ignites a holy discontent. You no longer want what you used to chase. What once satisfied you no longer nourishes you. This is not confusion, it's evolution. That restlessness is God's invitation to grow. It's His way of stirring your soul so you won't settle. He's saying you've outgrown this place. Your future won't fit inside your current surroundings. The shift comes to make you uncomfortable because comfort breeds complacency, and complacency kills calling. But here's the challenge. The inner shift often comes long before the external change. There's a gap, a liminal space. You feel called to move, but you're not yet released. You feel pulled, but you don't know where to step. This can be the most frustrating part of the journey, because waiting in the in-between tests your patience, your faith, your clarity. But don't rush, because in that space, God is reshaping your vision, renewing your mind, and preparing your heart to carry what's coming. In this season, don't ignore the shift. Don't silence it. Don't numb it with distractions or drown it in routine. Listen to it, lean into it, pray through it, journal what you're feeling. Ask the deeper questions. Allow that restlessness guide you, not scare you, because it's not there to torment you, it's there to transform you. That inner tension is not a breakdown, it's birth. You are shedding who you were to make room for who you're becoming. And just like a seed must break before it sprouts, so must you break free from patterns, fears, and limits that no longer align with your purpose. When you feel that stirring, take it seriously. It's not just a mood, it's not just fatigue, it's the Spirit preparing you. God doesn't waste disruption, and He certainly doesn't waste restlessness. That feeling is the first sign of favor, the first signal of transition, the first knock of destiny on your soul. Something is shifting, and that means something is coming. Bigger, bolder, brighter. Your job isn't to figure it all out. It's to follow the pull, trust the restlessness. Because when your soul starts speaking, it means heaven is moving. There's a certain weight that shows up in your life right before a major blessing breaks through. Resistance increases, delays multiply, doors that should have opened remain shut, opportunities seem to slip through your fingers, and if you're not careful, you'll start to believe that maybe you're not meant to have what you're praying for. But here's the truth. Resistance is often the greatest confirmation that you're on the edge of something extraordinary. It's no coincidence that things get harder right before they get better, because pressure is always a sign of progress. Ask any athlete, any entrepreneur, any visionary, the moment they got closest to their breakthrough was the moment things got the most difficult. The same is true in the spiritual realm. When God is preparing to release something significant in your life, the enemy intensifies opposition. The delays begin not to break your spirit, but to test your stamina. It's not easy. Let's be honest. There are days when you want to quit, when the vision gets blurry and your heart feels heavy. You've put in the effort, you've prayed the prayers, you've walked in faith, and still nothing. No signs, no results, silence. But delay does not mean denial. In fact, delay is often divine. It's God's way of refining your character to match your calling. It's not enough to receive the blessing. You have to be ready to carry it. And that preparation happens in the waiting. It's in the tension of delay that strength is built, discipline is developed, wisdom is gained, faith is forged. Think about this. A bow must be pulled back before it can launch forward. The further it's pulled, the farther it flies. That pullback, that pressure isn't a setback. It's setup. Likewise, every resistance you face, every delay you endure is stretching you, aligning you, preparing you for launch. Don't misinterpret it. Even nature confirms this principle. Before a baby is born, there are contractions, sharp, painful waves of pressure. The closer the birth, the more intense the contractions. But no one would look at a pregnant woman in labor and say, something's wrong because she's in pain. We understand instinctively that pain is a sign that something new is coming. The same is true for your life. The pressure you feel isn't random, it's prophetic. Resistance also exposes your resolve. Anyone can believe when things are easy, but those who are destined for greatness are the ones who can keep believing when the odds are stacked, when the answers are delayed, when nothing makes sense. They push through the pressure because they understand that resistance is not a wall, it's a door in disguise. And those who refuse to turn back will find it open. Sometimes the delay is also divine protection. You may be ready to receive, but what you're walking into still needs to be aligned. The people, the timing, the atmosphere, God is orchestrating it all behind the scenes. Just because you can't see movement doesn't mean nothing's happening. Heaven works in silence. Roots grow underground before the plant ever breaks the surface. So if you're feeling delayed, discouraged, or stuck, don't give up. Don't walk away when you're this close. The pressure is not your enemy, it's your proof. The resistance you're facing right now may very well be the final stretch before the blessing breaks. Keep building, keep praying, keep believing, because when you learn to endure the delay without losing your faith, you prove you're ready for what's next. And when it finally arrives after the tears, after the tests, after the tension, you'll look back and realize the resistance didn't stop you. It shaped you. It made you into the person who could receive and sustain the very thing you were waiting for. There's a moment after the disruption, after the isolation, after the inner shifts and the delays, when something remarkable begins to happen. A strange stillness settles in your spirit. The chaos outside hasn't necessarily stopped, but inside there's peace, there's focus. Your mind begins to clear. Your heart begins to align. And for the first time in a long time, you start to see, not with your physical eyes, but with the eyes of vision. You start to recognize who you really are, what you're really called to do, and where you truly belong. And that clarity, that unshakable, powerful, soul-deep clarity, that is the final sign, the last indicator that what God has for you is not only coming, it's close. Clarity is a gift, but it often doesn't arrive until after you've endured the fog. It doesn't show up when everything is easy. It's born through struggle. It's carved through the confusion. You don't learn clarity, you earn it. Through faith, through surrender, through obedience in the unseen. You start to notice your thoughts changing. The things that once mattered so much suddenly lose their power. The noise of opinions, the pressure of pleasing others, the need to perform, those things start to fall away. And in their place, stillness, strength, intuition, direction. You begin to realize you don't need 100 answers, you just need alignment. You begin to understand that purpose isn't something you chase, it's something you awaken to. Clarity also comes with responsibility. When God sharpens your vision, it's not so you can sit still, it's so you can move, and move wisely, with intention, with conviction. When you finally see who you're becoming, you stop apologizing for outgrowing people, places, and habits that no longer serve you. You start protecting your peace. You start walking with purpose. You start building differently. And here's something powerful. When your vision clears, your energy shifts. You stop striving and you start flowing. You stop forcing outcomes and you start aligning with divine time. You begin to trust that if something isn't for you, it won't stay. And if something is for you, nothing can keep it away. In this space of clarity, you'll start to receive fresh ideas, divine downloads, and deeper wisdom. Things you couldn't understand before will suddenly make sense. Pain that once confused you will begin to reveal its purpose. You'll look back on delays, rejections, and even heartbreak, and you'll whisper, "Oh, I see it now." Because clarity doesn't just help you see forward, it helps you see backward with grace. And you'll start to notice divine alignment. The right people start to appear. The right doors open. The right opportunities present themselves. Not because you chased them, but because you became the version of yourself who could handle them. This is what happens right before something big. Clarity is heaven's way of saying, get ready. You're about to step into what you were born for. It's not hype. It's not a motivational slogan. It's spiritual precision. A deep inner knowing that no matter what comes next, you're ready. So if you're in a season where your thoughts are clearing, your purpose is becoming louder, and your heart is beating with fresh vision, don't ignore it. Embrace it. That calm you feel isn't the end of the storm. It's the beginning of the breakthrough. It's the stillness before the curtain rises. It's the final breath before destiny begins. You're not lost. You're focused. You're not waiting. You're preparing. You're not unsure. You're stepping into certainty. This is clarity. This is vision. And this is the final sign that something big is about to happen in your life.